Hello and welcome to TFT NA Regional Finals, set 9.5, final day, game number 1.
Today, we are going to know exactly who our representatives are. We have a former world champion, or current world champion right now in replay, potentially going back to defend that title, but there are 7 other players here that are trying to do just the same and qualify and win those world spots. So Crowan, we know where we're going right now. This is probably one of my favorite arenas as well. The music lends itself so beautifully to an event like this too, and we're going to be riding along with Milk.
Oh, let's go, Boop. Day 3, the finals are here, and sending 4 players to the World Championship. That's half of the field, right? And we talked about the end of yesterday. Honestly, everybody here would be deserving, even if they are a breakout player of the set. They're an old veteran like Milk or Soju, right? They have all clutched up. They've done so much work throughout this whole set to make it to this point. Even for 4 of them, it is their first time competing at a regionals between Darthnub, Toronto, Tokyo, Connor is me, and T-Lides, but Milk, of course, in the conversation for greatest of all time NA player. He has made it back here to the regional finals, to the final day, and could be going to Worlds for a 3rd time, Boop. That's crazy.
3 times and another potential world champion we're looking at here from Milk. We're going to leave the Renekton's on the pack right now, but looking already at where this board is, we have a TF on the bench, so we kind of know, hey, whenever we get that multicaster presented to us, it might be a good idea to at least keep that outgoing. But this first augment is really going to decide how everyone is going to go. If it's silver, then the Earth players are going to have to maybe adjust a little bit of that early game play style, and the other non-Earth players are probably going to be pretty excited about that. So let's see what it's going to be.
All right, it comes up and it's gonna be gold. So it's good enough for the Earth players, re-rolling the rest to see if anything else tempts him. But Milk playing those 6 traits right now, tailoring for at least one emblem of his choosing here. Gonna pop it. Finds Ionia, which is the most appealing option amongst this pool of choices. Going that kind of Ionia Vanquisher line, we saw the popularity rise a ton from day 1 into day 2, but the win rate was only about 44%, and it didn't win any games, I don't believe, actually, Boop. So Milk just gonna hope for a top 4 here.
Well, on a day like today, you don't have to win a game in order to top 4 and go to Worlds, right? So maybe this is one of those safer approaches that they know, hey, we have a top 4 rate. It's one of the only emblems that we got that we could really build upon that we were offered. So now this is just the deck that we're given, and this is how we're going to play it out. And Milk also is really well known for sacking HP. We talked about it a little bit earlier when we did those highlights. But the thing about any 1st or 8th player, right, is if they're able to overcome that bump, right? Eventually, you are going to have to start winning, obviously, right? But sometimes when you're that player who stays in 8th place, develops all that gold, sometimes you don't ever actually get to make it. Think about all those times Piltover players never cash out, right? That could be the kind of like the more macro version of this. As we're going over to another veteran of the scene, which is Soju, and with a Vanquisher emblem as well. So Soju's also done a little bit more on this comp, I think, than some other players on in this lobby currently, but this Vanquisher emblem has gone on to a couple different people. Karma's becoming a little bit more popular with it as well.
Yeah, Soju has played this composition once this tournament, and to a 5th place. He is going to obviously have practiced it leading into the event, though, so just tournament results are a little bit lacking in the whole overall holistic view. But Soju's kind of taking the role of Milk here, it seems like, in sacking the early game and econing up. Milk actually pushed levels. He went to 4, bought out the whole shop, right, and holding all that gold on the bench. But Soju's saying, no, it's okay, I'm gonna go for this kind of capped out board with a ton of econ after sacking the early stage. This is a style that Soju is very familiar with, especially typically on ladder, but he does tend to play tournaments at least a little bit more conservatively when it comes to saving HP and having that early game advantage. He's done that all throughout the course of the weekend, but now he has to change up that play style.
That's a really, really good point. A couple of people have pointed that out recently about Soju's play, and I think it really shows up when the stakes are at its highest, right? Want to control more things, when sometimes taking that risk is going to be where you find those victories. And so we're going to be right along with Weijin now. Look at that average placement, 2.67, and is, I think, the second highest of the day, of the weekend. And the thing about Weijin, it's been tier 3-4 costs, like a little bit of luck and some really highly capped boards.
Yeah, Weijin Iverson playing this early game so aggressively. Another player to find the Ionia emblem. So we already have potentially 3 players contesting this comp of Ionia Vanquishers. Soju could lean more into that just Vanquisher playstyle. But Weijin Iverson leveled to 5 and lost. You hate to see it, Boop. Even with his board so strong, he ended up losing out there.
Yeah, it looked like he had a pretty good, solid start early game. It, seems pretty solid, but unfortunately is unable to get the dub here. Looking across the board right now, we got a lot of Renekton's and Cassiopeias to start. Usually we see a lot more Voids because that leads towards those multicasters, but as of right now, anything popping out at you?
Yeah, I mean, it really is that kind of big thing of the 3 players contesting Ionia lines. The others are Toronto, Tokyo, actually Vanquisher emblem as well. So that's 4 players going to be contesting that line. It's crazy, and I don't really know how much you can pivot out of that line. It is going to be 3 Shurima on the board for Toronto, Tokyo, but Vanquisher is there, the Jhin is on board and on the bench as well. We're going to be seeing a lot of Zayas and Neelas, but not everyone can tier 2 those, so we're gonna have to keep that in mind once we get into late stage 3 and stage 4, Boop, when those rolldowns come through.
Yeah, and so this is also going to mean, since the Vanquisher line is so contested right now, that level 7, level 8 is going to also be a little bit quicker for some of these Vanq players. I'm really curious to see, now that everyone knows how contested this Vanq line is, how quickly they might end up leveling up to get access to those 4-cost carries earlier than the other players. Who's going to kind of take it normal? Who's going to try to increase the tempo? We'll see, because someone's going to have to make that decision with 4 players on this comp. It's going to be the Spider-Man meme right now, Cass and Jhin against Cass and Jhin, but it's going to be the one with the itemization with that Hex Tech to take it. More Cassiopeias as well. Very contested in the early game. It seems like it's the last patch or something, but the overall aspect of this is it's a great early game unit, can hold on to a lot of items to give someone else a little bit later.
Ooh, Darthnub taking Pandora's items to reroll, and is actually going for Cho'Gath, it seems like, in this matchup, and that's had varying success over the course of the tournament. Darthnub did play 1 game of it yesterday to a 3rd place, so we know it can be successful, and it's especially powerful when you preserve econ, right? Darthnub trapping the Poppy in the corner, playing Amelia 1 as well, trying to make sure to preserve that 5 loss streak, Boop. It is so important. And Darthnub does exactly that, because we see the board value, right? Soju and Darthnub only had 4 board values. So they just had 4 1-cost units in their board, trying to position them in the worst way possible. Battle of the losers, and it seems like both of them do win out because they did not face each other. So that econ game, right? They're both going to be feeling pretty good about that.
But one thing that we do have to note is that we both have, there are 2 loss streakers going into this round, but one has substantially more HP than the other. I wonder if that's going to come into play a little bit later on in stage 5. For example, if Darthnub is able to recoup from this bottom position. Milk also on that loss streak side. Unfortunately, no interest for him. But looking at the top, we got the current world champion replay, and Connor is me in the top 2 right now. So looking at what they've usually been doing and how they've been playing and streaking, with those wins, they're probably feeling pretty good so far. Everyone else needs to kind of find their spots and start stabilizing, and let's see what happens for the second augment.
They probably feel really good right now because they are both leaning towards playing multicasters, and playing multicasters from a position up ahead from that tempo is where they're allowed to have those kind of disgusting high rolls, getting all of those tier 3 units online, and technically that comp does support too. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them ends up winning the lobby, Boop. Obviously a bit early to say that, but they're feeling really, really strong right now in the World of Earth players.
Yeah, also a little fun thing. Remember, we do have a little mini game with Weijin and Toronto, Tokyo for average placement. They're on the same potential comp right now. So really, I'm super curious to see how that's going to go, especially since they're contesting each other. We're rolling down now for Darth Nub, and we do get the tier 3 Cho'Gath. We got the Bruisers in the front line, and now it's time to start stacking.
That was a pretty solid roll down by Darth Nub. He actually only had like 3 Cho'Gaths going into it, ended up finding 6 and still 30 gold left to go. That is really, really solid. Just needs to pray that one of these items rolls into a cloak for a Dragon's Claw here soon, because the other side of the board from Soju, that's an early Kaisa. And is it going to be enough actually to take the win? Cassiopeia, the only one left alive. She's running through units, but no. Darth Nub is going to snap the loss streak. And with the power of a Cho'Gath 3 and all that stacking HP, you might be able to carry it forward too.
So many snakes on the board right now. So many Cassiopeias trying to do what their best in order to win those rounds. Connor and Replay also avoiding each other. And we get a silver augment, Crow, and of course
we do, right? And Pandora's bench, not going to be the most appealing, but Bruiser Heart, that is an insane pickup from Darth Nub. The +1, it's going to be so much more easy to get that 6 Bruiser. Just need the Rek'Sai and the Sejuani. When you get to level 6, even, you can put it in, because that +1 Bruiser from the emblem, you don't need to have an actual unit wearing that emblem. Darth Nub feeling fantastic about that find.
Yeah, and also I'm very, very impressed by the fact that Soju's been on a 6 loss streak and is currently not in last place, has more HP than 2 people. That's really, really good. Something that I think gets that doesn't get talked about enough, I think, because a lot of players consider it moderately simple, is how good a good loss is, right? Losing by 1 or 2 less units can create extra rounds for you later on in the game, and that's exactly what Soju is doing, as he's lost 6 in a row and is sitting in 6th place. Really impressive there. And we still don't have our 100 HP players fighting against each other, so they're potentially going to take their streaks into the next round as well. Connor and Replay hitting up some good gold. Everyone moderately wealthy except Weijin, who does seem like he was able to invest a little bit of that gold. Now this Cho'Gath trying to get those stacks. It looks like that is going to at least be 1 or 2. Let's see how big this Cho'Gath is going to be able to get, and that's going to be a round win as well for Darth Nub.
Connor is me. The win streak is broken. The power of that Cho'Gath hitting, increasing the tempo of the lobby, Boop, right? That's the big thing. And Connor is me, again, was one of those players that's win streaking, looking to go multicasters, but doing it from such an efficient board. The Alawi holding the double stone plates and the Cassiopeia being an item carrier. From just this game, we've seen how popular Cassiopeia is in carrying items and how strong it is. Almost actually went out on that last round, but Connor, sitting at about 50 gold, is not felt the pressure to roll down at 3-2 yet. Connor may be in a spot compared to Replay where they're going to be thinking about going to level 7 and re-rolling for those Vel'Kozes and Sonas faster, because Replay on the other side of the board in this matchup already has all the units online and has a Galleon 2 in the front line, is way ahead and still 40 gold.
Yeah, and it looks like Connor's at least going to get a unit or 2 down before losing to Replay. So this 1v1 of our former double 100s on the top is going to go the way of Replay. Replay already getting the multicaster set. Was pretty well known on coming in on that comp, and because of that legend, it was pretty much 100% expected. Weijin still in 2nd place, and Connor now in 3rd. A little bit of a separation from there, but looking at Milk, we knew that this was going to happen. Now, when is going to be the time where you push down the gas pedal and say, now is going to be when I start winning, and potentially try to go for this lobby?
Milk doing what he does best, lose in the early game, have a huge win out in the late game. Wasn't able to streak all the way because he was a little bit aggressive with his gold in stage 2, leveled up at 2-1, but has 50 gold. Maybe going to be considered pushing levels here to try to stabilize. And yes, he's already halfway to level 7, has the level up and rolls down. Neela already on the bench. That's a pair as well, but needs to find some Zayas. Neela too, though. That's a huge hit for a 3-5 roll down.
Yeah, the fact that he was able to get that tier 2 4 cost, especially with this particular comp, especially with the Ionia emblem, right? And is going to potentially block someone else from another Neela as well in the pack. But this could not have gone better, honestly, for Milk. Getting either one of the tier 4s just in general would have been awesome, but getting a tier 2 version is huge.
The board is a little bit awkward when it comes to traits right now. 4 Ionia, 3 Vanquisher, not quite the best. There is that Darius as well in the shop that he can consider if he didn't already upgrade his own. The thing is, the items are a little awkward. Milk felt the pressure right now to slam everything he had. There are no RFCs on this Neela, and because of that is still going to lose. How often do you see a roll down at level 7 hit the units that you want to, hit one of the most important carry units, then still lose?
Well, I think we can talk about why TF and Ezreal is good there. Itemization, right? To be able to pick, some of that itemization for yourself so that doesn't happen is why a lot of people have been leaning towards that for units that absolutely need best in slot items, right? We've already seen that, hey, if they're not best in slot, they might not be able to pull it through. There's still a lot more power to be gained on that comp, and it's really awesome that he doesn't have to look for that Neela anymore, but that does definitely feel pretty bad losing that round, especially after getting that tier 2 4-cost carry. That's a linchpin for that comp. Now we're going to be talking about Soju as well, and it looks like Replay is able to upgrade that front line with that Galio, and the Talia is also now a tier 2 Talia, but only one Vel'Koz so far, so we're still looking for our big carries on that Vel'Koz and that Sona, and now the Karma with the Vanquisher is what we're seeing from Soju, and this is one of those comps that has definitely gained in popularity. The way that Karma works, it means that a lot of that single target damage at first is going to be able to burst you down quite a bit, and then once you do get to that enhanced inner flame, it's going to be a lot of damage. It's all about keeping that Karma alive, just like a lot of other backline carries.
Exactly. Finding that Vanquisher emblem for the Karma has been the key of a lot of these Ionia Vanquisher compositions. We see for a brief moment there, Milk still losing out on rounds. I think this will be like a 7 loss streak for Milk. 23 HP, really, really low for Wolves. Needs to turn that around here, roll even further once we hit stage 4, but rolling down at level 7 to 0 gold feels really bad, especially after you already hit your main key unit. However, one of the players that we haven't talked about yet in terms of that Earth dichotomy is T-Lides. T-Lides going that vertical Shurima boop and has Pandora's Bench to try to find some of these units. That is a miss on that roll, and he is continuing to roll down to try to find it.
Yeah, the Shurima, especially with a double Gargoyle Swain. We saw some Swains kind of remain pretty sticky through stage 4 in a couple lobbies throughout the weekend. It's been able to enhance the ability of some of those backline units, and especially things like this Azir that the Nashers is going to go beautifully on at this point. So I'm very, very, very excited to see how this is going to work against the Vanquishers that are going to be able to push a lot of damage right away in that front line and potentially get access to that Azir a little earlier. Those Gargoyles going to have to do a ton of work. But this front line also pretty good so far, especially with the 6 Shurima, right? They're going to be gaining some HP. They're going to get a little bit of help from the trait, and we're seeing that work right now.
Exactly. Azir is bought enough time to be scaling up in this backline up against Replay. As soon as Replay hits these units, right, these tier 2s, the backline carries like Vel'Koz, as we were talking about, going to feel a lot better about it. Moving on over to seeing how that Cho'Gath is doing. Darth Nub was towards the bottom, but now he's made his way into that kind of top 4 as a gold augment for our final augment selection of the game comes through. Boop, no prismatics for us in game 1, but that's okay. Surely we'll get one throughout the course of today.
Ooh, Gifts from the Fallen, that's a pretty good reroll, but is it going to be more components, or is it going to be Omni? Right, we have some thinking to do on this board so far. Contagion is an infection, but I'm looking at maybe Leech or Gifts of the Fallen, but we're actually going to re-roll it. It's going to be Martyr here. Crowan, what are you thinking?
Martyr is pretty solid, but Gifts of the Fallen, I think there's a big argument for. Ends up taking Martyr, I think just a ton of HP, and keeping that front line alive for as long as possible is what T-Lides wants to do, because the Azir, right, that is the only carry unit, the key carry unit right now for him, and has the Archangel, so that scaling is going to come through Martyr. As soon as unit dies, right, 10% healing to the rest of the board, that Nasus, and as soon as that Sejuani is upgraded, they're going to have massive staying power.
Yeah, that Nasus 2 as well is going to get taken down by the Darius at first, but let's see if the healing's even going to matter at this point, as this Ionia Vanquisher board is not taking any damage. That's a huge loss for T-Lides. And did Milk win? Yes, we're on a 2-win streak for Milk. Toronto Tokyo, unfortunately, at 16 HP already. Yeah. Looking at everyone at the top is our multicaster player, Replay.
Wajan Iverson, Ionia Vanquisher. Same with Toronto Tokyo, same with Milk, same with Soju, right? We're talking about this, Boop, but now that we've reached stage 4, we get to see kind of where these compositions are failing, because there's only 1-star versions of the units, right? Neela 1, Karma 1, Shen 1 in the front line. At least Toronto Tokyo has hit Xayah 2. That has to be a saving grace, but on a 3 loss streak and such low HP, the front line is looking very, very poor. Now Neela 2 does join the fight for him, though. Can he stabilize with it?
Yeah, that's going to make the rest of the Vank players really frustrated that these 2 4-cots are already tier 2'd on this board, but we're on a 3-loss streak, so it hasn't been enough. I like the itemization on the Xayah. Hextech goes very, very well on that, especially the way that Feather Strike works, but the Vel'Koz is on the Xayah, but they lose. Darth Nub going to take the L on that one, and Milk now on Elimination Station. Let's see if this carousel is going to change his future.
The 5 costs are generally going to be pretty solid when it comes to having a big power spike, but there's not really ones for these players. Stream of Rise is okay. Aatrox going to be a solid unit, and T-Lides does pick it up, but it's nothing crazy, right? Just one component. There's not any huge upgrades coming through, but we get a chance to look at the whole picture here, Boop, right? All of these Ionia players, Vanquisher players catching each other, but then the multicaster players, they're still kind of towards the top with Replay and Connor.
Yeah, but in terms of just general HP for the lobby, the whole lobby is pretty low, like from top to bottom. For first place to be 61 and bottom to be 8 at this point, this is gonna come down to some pretty crazy 1v. You know, when there's 4 or 5 people going after, they're gonna get a lot of eliminations probably by the end of stage 5. But now Milk, looking at another board that has a Xayah 2. We have our Neela 2, but it hasn't been enough. We were able to get a couple wins, but our last round was a loss. Didn't quite see who that was to, but this could be the end of the first lobby for Milk.
It could be. Up against Replay, who we just saw in the roll down the bottom left, still on Vel'Koz 1, 0 gold, and 1 Galio away, Boop.
And so there's, you know, a lot of people not hitting right now on both versions of those comps, the multicasters and the Vanquishers right now. The Vanquishers do get into the back line, but with the way that Vel'Koz works, that backline access doesn't really quite matter, especially since the Hextech is able to get there. Neela does end up taking it down, but just a Vel'Koz 2 probably would have been a difference maker there. And looking at these multicasters, it doesn't look like Connors are going to work out, as it's going to be Darth taking the dub there.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. If that was a Vel'Koz 2, Milk would be out in 8th place in game 1, but he does get to hang on. Now the Vel'Koz comes through. Fortunately for Replay, that is a massive hit. Is going to consider maybe rolling once for that Galio 3, but doesn't need to, right? Replay still 50 HP, which is second overall in the lobby. You're talking about how the lobby HP is very, very low. That 100% is the case, but now Toronto Tokyo and Milk both just 1 loss away from being eliminated in this game number 1. The Neela has 2 items for Toronto right now. He swaps the Xayah to the right hand side and runs to Replay now with that Vel'Koz 2 and gets Zephyr.
Let's see the feathers. Yeah, let's see if the Feather Strike is going to matter at all, especially since it gets a Zephyred. That's not something we see every day ever since the item changes, but now the Xayah is on a line. But was it too little too late? We are on the Vel'Koz right now. The Vel'Koz is down, and the Xayah is able to take him out, and then the Inner Flame from Karma takes out the rest of that board, and in a blink of an eye, they were able to take down the multicasters. Let's see if both of our 8 HP players were able to make it, and they were, as everyone else starting to fall right now. The top 4 is top 3, top 2 is pretty much unknown right now. Everyone up looking at Soju, who started with a 6-loss streak, stabilized at 61, and hasn't lost since.
And now we get to Warlord's Palace. That's a ton of gold that Milk is offered. He considers it for a brief moment, but says, no, I don't think that's good enough. Hextech Lifeblade. I mean, ideally, he would look for like a Radiant RFC and a remover to put that on a Neela. That would actually like save his game. Tactician's Crown is cute and all, but is it enough for Milk? It is. He thinks so. Is going to be able to play another unit here. Has a Deathblade with the 2 swords for the Xayah as well. But what does Milk play here?
Ooh, getting the attack crown. I mean, I think maybe we're in a position where we know we're hyper contested. We're barely winning these rounds. Gets the Xayah 2. but maybe an extra unit is that little bit of power that the other players will not have access to because of this crown, right? If they're the same level, that he's going to be able to win by one extra unit, and we can thank the crown for something like that, right?
Although,
but
the extra unit's only a Sejuani 1 right now, right? That's not very strong. It doesn't give any buffs right now. No traits are active from the Sejuani.
Oof, this could potentially be it. We're looking at an Azir 2 on the other side. This Shen needs to do the most work we've seen a Shen do all weekend, and so far it's actually looking pretty good with that adaptive helm. Has been taking a lot of that damage. The Karma's able to get a good inner flame onto the backline as well, and so far the multicasters and Azir weren't able to do enough damage at the early part of the game, but once everyone got ramped up, it was a different story, and unfortunately for Milk, that could be an 8th place. The Toronto-Tokyo win, yes, but folks, it's not time to cry over spilled milk just yet. There are still 5 more lobbies for him to make up this this difference, because remember, just the top 4 or top 3 are going to get that spot.
Exactly. Now we get a chance to see where that leaves all the other Vanquisher players. Toronto, Tokyo, the next person potentially on the chopping block, along with Wage and Iverson actually getting dangerously low at 13 HP. Another person contesting that, but a Radiant blue buff was found for the Vanquisher Karma. Boop, Karma being such a key unit with this Vanquisher +1. Is it enough versus Connor is me? Connor took down Milk, but can Toronto survive?
Yeah, Toronto has, I think, one of the more complete Vanquisher boards right now, because the Xayah 2, Neela 2, and the Karma has really good items as well. This next ult's going to mean a lot, and it is able to one-shot a lot of the backline, but does Karma have enough in the tank in order to take down this Azir? He's going to arise, and he takes them down, and Toronto is going to fall. The average placement's going to take a hit, but maybe not that bad, because Wasian might be coming right after him as well on 1 HP. The HP totals, again, for this lobby, very, very low. It's still anyone's game. Wasian, Iverson, Darth Nub in single digits on Elimination Station, however, and it's just maybe these Vanks holding hands in the bot 4 right now.
Connor is the Vanquisher Slayer right now. Takes down Milk, takes down Toronto, Tokyo. Wage and Iverson, watch out, right? If you run into Connor, we know how that matchup goes. However, seeing a big pivot here from Darth Nub. Has a Kai'Sa for the 3 Void, and as really the key carry unit here. The Azir is only being tier 1, has the 2 items, so how much work can this Kai'Sa do?
Hopefully more work than the Azir has been doing for Connor at this point. Been able to get through that HP. Once Azir gets to around 15 on that Rage Blade stack, a lot of that damage starts to really appear, especially on that front line. You're seeing it just there. Now did Wasian survive? No. Did Darth Nub survive? Wasian took a huge hit, so that pretty much solidifies that 6th place no matter what happens to Darth. And no, Darth is going to fall. These Azirs absolutely taken over right now.
Yeah, exactly. Wage and Iverson, Toronto, Tokyo, and Milk, 3 of the Vanquisher players falling, all 6th, 7th, 8th. But who's left is Soju. Found the Xayah 2 as well. That Sejuani in the front line is huge and has a Vanquisher Karma for himself. Comments are pretty solid. 2 right healing orbs for this composition to keep that Sejuani alive. That's probably a massive part of why he's able to find so much success. He's even going level 9, Boop. Soju making it happen.
Yeah, you know, there were some whispers of Soju like being in form coming into this tournament, played, you know, some good games, some good scrims before coming through, but I think this is a time where we've got to, I mean, Soju is one of the final 8 in North America and competing for a world spot and doing it well right now. Let's see if this Morelos is going to be a huge difference maker right now. I think a lot of that, you know, maintaining that HP through that loss streak, moving into an 8-win streak is exactly why Soju is here. And in the macro, I'd be very interested to go over that on my own at one point, but let's go ahead and see who's going to win this fight. Right now the Azirs have been absolutely taken over, like I said before, but is this Karma going to be able to get through there with this next ult? It's going to hit the Azir, but too much HP regen on that Hex Tech, but is it going to be enough? No. 2-unit win against the Azir, but these fights are close.
Fights are super close. There was just a 3 HP gap between everybody going into that round, and now that Connor and T-Lide's lost, right? Replay and Soju feeling a lot more comfy there. The board strength value is rather similar, just an 11 value difference all the way from Replay to T-Lides, but T-Lides is improving it, right? Playing that vertical Shurima board. Connor is me and Replay playing the multicasters. Oh, what is T-Lides cooked up here? That's an Aatrox with Radiant TG, and that Azir is so powerful in the backline.
Yeah, and I'd be remiss to not say that there's only 12 HP separating first through fourth right now, so anything can happen. This is pretty much the definition of a rock, paper, scissors version of a TFT. I'm looking at this Azir with that Nashers. He's already getting into that back line, but then Azir on the other side with the Radiant Rage Blade is starting to push out a lot of that damage, but not quick enough. You still need to gain that advantage with the Rage Blade versus the Nashers, which is a guaranteed stat boost, but the top of the value is going to go to the Rage Blade, but through the beginning and mid part of the fight, the Nashers is probably going to do a little bit better.
Connor is me and Riri play the multicaster players, falling very quickly here, but that's about what we expect of that composition, right? The multis are really good at getting top 4, but it's hard for them to win lobbies a lot of the time, especially when players chase these chase traits like T-Lides and the 6 Shurima, and like Soju now going level 9 with the Ionia Vanquisher line. This has been so well done. Even from the beginning of the game, Soju typically win streaks in the early game. He did start off with a bit of a loss streak and then turned it right around. Connor is me though, still finding upgrades. Sona 2 is here. This is a strong multi-board, Boop. We don't usually see it with an Azir, so that might be exactly what he needs to try to hang on just a bit longer in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the Azir, looking at both of these boards right now, the Azir is the difference, right? Is that extra unit with those items, with that power level, gonna bring Connor to a victory. We will see very soon as Connor is on his last life and is going up against replay. So who's gonna win? Remember, Connor did specifically enjoys winning against people he is contesting. But no, look at that front line with the Zephyr as well. The Cataclysm from the Jarvan's gonna be very late, and where is it even gonna go? The CC is huge. They do get into the back line, so the Azir has a little bit of time to ramp up. The Galio 3 taking a lot of that damage. It's so close, and the Jarvan was able to get those Cataclysms off, and even with a good Zephyr on that front line, the CC was too much to bear.
That was crazy, actually. Riri play a fantastic Zephyr, because the thought process there is, oh, if my Jarvan casts first, all of the multicasters are going to do my damage first and kill your backline, but that didn't end up happening. As soon as the Jarvan from Connor actually came down from the Zephyr, it did get the cast off, and then these units cleaned up, and Azir was a really big part of that, actually. So great technical play, Riri play, hitting Zephyrs the entirety of the game, but still, it just results in a 4th. Now looking at Soju in his reign of terror here, it seems like, going up against Connor while T-Lides fights for his life against the ghost of Connor.
I'm going to be looking at Soju's board, especially since Connor is up for elimination. The CC has already gone through, but now the boat has sank, and it might sink Connor's chances to win this lobby. One more ult from the Karma. The Karma's down as well. There's one more unit left, and the Azir takes it over. So Soju going to lose that round by 1 unit. This is thrilling stuff, Crowan. Everyone trading wins right now. Soju still in first place with 20 HP. 3 players remaining at 6-3. T-Lides now at 2.
This is intense. Soju's level 9 unit was a Gangplank and has been upgraded to a Gangplank 2. The boats come through, provide that CC immunity, but the damage may be just a little bit lacking. Connor and T-Lides both stuck on level 8. Finds another Vel'Koz 2, but not gonna be able to find that Vel'Koz 3, Boob.
Yeah, at this point, that's just a hope and a wish, I would say, when it comes to the Vel'Koz 3. A couple more rounds, he might be able to get there, but does he have those rounds? This is going to be an elimination match between T-Lides and Connor is me. Will Connor be him by the end of this round? It's going to be up to that Azir and these multicasters to do just that. Both players do have that Azir as well, but there's going to be a little bit more beef with the Shurima, especially with the Nasus with the Adaptive Helm and double Gargoyles, who seems to have blistered away at this point, but the Azirs are already fighting each other. The Hextech doing a lot of work, but not enough. And that might spell the end for Connor. Good lobby for him, though, to start.
Yeah, 3rd place, not too shabby at all. But the Earth players reign supreme as we expected. T-Lides versus Soju. Soju won on whoever's ghost he was fighting. There's a couple +1 trades here, but no one actually playing Demacia in this game. And Piltover, of course, not going to want to grab that. It's just going to be some frontline. Soju, did he actually grab that in time? Okay, he did. That was kind of close there, Soju. When it comes to grabbing the Ionic Spark, getting a little bit of that shred, even before the Freljord of his trait procs, maybe a little bit of extra karma damage is going to make the difference.
Yeah, Aatrox too. We got the Darkens for T-Lides as well. Azir seems to be doing very well. I like the Nashers, like I said, on it. What do you think about the Nashers Rageblade situation with Azir?
Oh, I mean, Nashers is fantastic. You can have both, but really Nashers is the only one that you need. A little bit of healing with the Gunblade, maybe Shiv to get that shred. But Archangels for the scaling here, like T-Lights has, fantastic as well.
All right, let's see if this first boat's going to be able to butter up that front line. No, it only hits one unit in the front line, and so now everyone's going to have to do a lot more work. The Feather Strike takes out most of the red side front line from a T-Lides, with the Gargoyle Stoveplates doing a lot of work. Another ult from Gangplank, and we finally, it seems like a death by 1,000 paper cuts for red side at this point with these Vanquishers, and now the Azir is going to go down, and guess what, folks? That is
Soju.
The man, the myth, the legend, K3 Soju.